What year did you hear?
Early 80s.
Early 80s? Would anybody like to venture a guess on when the first flight of the stealth fighter took place? That's close. It was in the early 70s, ladies and gentlemen. First stealth fighter flew. So that's pretty good secret keeping. They can and do keep secrets for many, many, many years, and nobody knows about it. Now, I can tell you this for sure. If they have revealed publicly the existence of the stealth fighter, they have something else that's secret that makes that look like a Tinker Toy. That's the way these things go. When I left the Air Force, I went into the United States Navy. I had originally wanted to go into the Navy. I love the ocean. I love ships. I love the water. I was a wonderful swimmer. I only had one problem. I got terribly seasick when I just looked at a boat. So that's why I really went into the Air Force. But when I left the Air Force and had not satisfied my sense of adventure, I still loved the ocean. I still wanted to go in the Navy, so I did. And I volunteered for submarines. I was stationed aboard the USS Tiger, SS-416, stationed at the Pearl Harbor submarine base. It was an old World War II diesel boat. When I reported aboard, it was in the shipyard and had been cut in half. And you can imagine my chagrin, being new to the Navy and standing on the edge of a dry dock looking at a submarine cut cleanly in half, knowing that I'm going to have to go underwater on this thing. I really didn't like the thought of that. Everything was rusty. Everybody was welding everywhere. Looked like a dead grasshopper covered with ants. Well, what they did was they inserted a 12-foot section, which became a pretty sophisticated sonar facility, compartment, and put 3 domes on the deck so that we could triangulate targets. And when this was done, we could actually compete with some of the best nuclear submarines in being able to track and kill a target. In fact, I remember thinking at times how easy it was to detect submarines and keep them from getting near an aircraft carrier, and then becoming a crew member on this submarine and surfacing within 100 yards of a carrier, not having been detected until we broke water. Now, to me, that was incredible, because that meant that that carrier was dead. I mean, if it had been wartime, we could have sunk that carrier very easily. I was acquainted with the state-of-the-art of aircraft technology. I was acquainted with not the state-of-the-art, but I knew what it took to go underwater and survive. It was while on this submarine as the port lookout on the transit between the Portland and Seattle area. We had been up there for the Rose Festival as a showboat, really. People came down and toured through the sub. And we met a lot of girls and had some really neat dates, and then we left. And about 1/3 of the way back from the Portland, Seattle area to Pearl Harbor, I was the port lookout. We were on the surface doing about 10 knots when off the port bow, I saw, and I was the only one that saw it, a huge flying disc the size of an aircraft carrier come up out of the water, tumble on its axis, and disappear into the clouds. Well, needless to say, I was stunned, literally speechless. I started to say something, we couldn't talk. Nobody else had seen it, and I knew that they weren't about to believe what I had seen if I told them. And it scared me a little bit too, because I had never believed in these things, even though I had heard stories about them all my life. And I didn't see your little run-of-the-mill 30-foot flying saucer. I saw something as big as an aircraft carrier. But I had a duty to report this because it could have meant a danger to the vessel. My duty was to the vessel and to the crew. But I wasn't about to tell the officer of the deck that I'd seen the flying saucer. So I told him, his name was Ensign Ball, I told him that I had seen something off the port bow at a relative bearing of approximately 15 degrees. Would he help me find it because I've lost it? And you work that way on the bridge of a ship. You work as a team. Everybody helps everybody else out. Since a lookout can't leave his station, officers very often bring him coffee. Well, he looked over there, and the starboard lookout had also heard what I said, and he looked over there too. And I was turning around to look back again, bringing my binoculars up, when the same craft, or another one exactly like it, I don't know which to this day, came back down out of the clouds, tumbled again on its axis, and the most incredible thing happened. There was no splash. It was as if the ocean opened up ahead of it, and then it went into the hole which closed behind it. Now this sounds incredible. And to tell you quite truthfully, it is incredible. And if somebody had told me that and I hadn't seen it, I wouldn't believe it. And I wouldn't blame any one of you for not believing it. But I hope before this day is over, you're going to at least consider the possibility that these things exist, because I'm going to show you some real film, pictures, and documents, government documentation, and we're going to talk about a lot of other things that are going on. It's extremely important that people get out of the stuck in the mud, narrow view frame of mind. I can tell you that over the last 17 to 18 years that I've been doing research, I have discovered that our normal, everyday concept of reality is an illusion. It is a manipulation in most instances of the power structure that really runs this country and the world to keep us ignorant so that we won't know what the truth is. I can tell you that when George Bush says, out of the Middle East crisis will come a new world order, he is not joking. And the new world order is not what you think it is. Friendly nations working together. It's going to be a one-world, totalitarian, socialist government. Some of the reasons for this are good, some of them are not. I can tell you that there is a hidden secret technology that is astounding, resembles nothing less than sheer magic, would literally set us free, enable us to cure most diseases, if not all, give us probably a source of, if not free energy, very close to free energy, very inexpensive energy, which we need very badly. And I'm going to talk to you why these things are being hidden, when this all came about, and try to give you a basic understanding of what's going on. All of it's covered in my book, which you may or may not have seen. The name of the book is Behold a Pale Horse. This book has more suppressed information printed in it than any other book that's ever been printed in the history of the world, I can guarantee you. And if they don't succeed in suppressing it, a lot of people's eyes are going to be wide open when they read it. Everything that I have found, I document. So it's not a question of deciding whether or not to believe me, it's a question of whether or not you can accept those documents as proof. Someone once said you can put 10 tons of proof in front of people. If they're not ready to accept an idea, they will not accept the proof. No amount of evidence will suffice to prove anything. It is the jury that will decide. And you are the jury. Smart people know that. After having gone through this experience in the con, on the bridge of the submarine, I was later told by the captain that we were not to discuss this, not even amongst ourselves. I'd never been told that in the military. I'd never heard of anything like that. People who worked on projects together usually discussed them amongst themselves together. Now, when we reached Pearl Harbor, those of us who had been on the bridge, including the captain, were not allowed to go to shore. An officer and commander from the Office of Naval Intelligence came on board, spoke with each one of us in the captain's stateroom individually, and literally what happened is he did not